I was always like, a woman who has an art gallery doesn't wear double pleated pants. Nobody would listen to me.
Welcome, friends and fans, to another edition of GalaxyCon Live, where we are bringing the convention experience directly to you. And today we are going back to Sunnydale with some amazingly talented guests from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So without further ado, let's head on down to the Hellmouth and see who we find. Our first guest is an actress whose credits include The Cat Returns, The Perfect Wedding, and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Today she joins us to discuss the role of Joyce Summers and occasionally the First Evil. Please welcome Kristine Sutherland.
Hi, you guys. Man, it is so great to be here. You know, it's a shame we can't be all together personally, but this is fantastic because we get together today virtually, and anybody who's still awake around the world can be joining us, and I'm sure you are, and I look forward to seeing you. So thank you, Patty. And I am so grateful to be here today. And we've got some other exciting guests that I'm sure you're going to introduce.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I got to throw it out. I am and remain an eternal fan of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So thank you for your participation in that. And I just watched it during the lockdown and again recently. And I was just like, the story still holds up. The effects still hold up. Yeah. I mean, it's a keeper, as I call it. So thank you so much. And thank you so much for joining us here today. And yes, we have a few more. Our next guest is an actor and musician whose credits include Runaway, Smallville, and Torchwood. Today, he joins us to discuss the role of poet William Pratt, better known as Spike. Please welcome back James Marsters.
Hey, guys. Good to see you. So good to be here. I get to go to a convention and no one knows what I'm wearing on the bottom. And I get to see Kristine. Kristine, I love you. It's been a while since I've seen you, and I love the internet, and I almost love Omicron because it means I get to see you today. Almost, but not quite. It's great to be here.
James, how you been in your corner of the world?
I've been really good, man. I've been hanging out at home. Wow. So I've been online shopping. Making my house a little bit more livable, and I just got a new rug, which I actually like. It was amazing. You just order it, and then they just drop it off on your porch, and then you go put it in. Yeah, so I'm keeping safe, and that's about all I'm doing right now. Besides preparing, Ghost of the Robot's going to be back in the recording studio soon, working on our next album.
Awesome. Absolutely looking forward to that. Thanks again for joining us, boss. Always a pleasure to see you.
Right on.
And finally, she is an actress, writer, director, producer whose body of work includes Drones, Supernatural, and the Ghosts of Albion series. Today, she joins us to discuss the role of Prudent Witch Tara. Please welcome back Amber Benson.
Hi. Hey. It's so nice to see all of you guys. I miss you.
Oh, we miss you too.
What are we going on? Year 2 now? The never-ending home quarantine. This is why again, I have the Christmas tree up.
We had a Groundhog Day moment where we're all like, "Okay, I think we're good." Maybe not.
Nope. Step out. Yeah, it totally is. We're like, step out, step back, step out, step back. Wear a mask. Don't wear a mask. Wear a mask. Get vaccinated. Everyone should be vaccinated. Wear your masks. Very important.
Yes, important for the nurses and doctors.
And keep washing those hands.
Yes, happy birthday. I do it now, like in my head, but I don't realize that I'm kind of humming along. So I'll be like in a public restroom, happy birthday to you, and everyone's just like,
absolutely. And yes, no shame. I've still got my Christmas tree up downstairs, and it'll probably be up on Valentine's Day.
Oh, come on. There's a little bit of shame in that. Come on, admit it.
No. You gotta celebrate.
No, because we put little hearts and stuff on it, so it becomes a Valentine's Day tree.
Well, I should do it so that the star is just over my
Oh, my God.
This is the most comfortable chair in the house. I was like, I'm not doing it unless I sit in the comfy chair. Forget that there's a star on my head.
Well, it's all good. So our team's going through the chat room, pulling out the questions. I'd like just to throw this one out for each of you. what was the most memorable day that you had on the set of Buffy? Or James, you can pull for Buffy or Angel.
Just one?
A memorable day. A memorable day.
I don't know, man. Let's pick one out of the hat. You know, I remember my first day being so nervous and at the same time so excited because the script was so good. Oh my God. I didn't want to audition for Buffy. I came to town only because I'd become a father, and I told my agent, look, I'm willing to do anything. I'm not here for awards. I'm not here to prove myself as an actor. I did that out in theater already. I'm here as a father, so I'll do anything. And they gave me the audition for Buffy, and I was like, oh, well, not that. That's silly. I don't want to do that. And they said, well, James, it's really good. Why don't you watch it? It's on tonight. It's on in 15 minutes. Why don't you watch the episode, call us back, tell us if you want the audition. It took 15 minutes of watching one of the episodes before I was on the phone just going, oh my God, get me on the show. And I auditioned with, one short scene, and then I got the script and I was all over it. And I was like, oh my God. And the script was amazing. So it was this combination of feeling like there was all this potential, all this excitement, but at the same time, pretty freaking nervous. And then we did the first scene. Luckily, I didn't have to talk a lot. I was just kind of stalking Buffy. Can we even do that anymore in television? But anyway, I was doing it. And then I got to talk to a minion. And it was working. It was working really well. I remember ripping off Rutger Hauer and Blade Runner. There was Rutger in profile talking to one of his minions, and there was a certain cadence in his voice that I always thought was just badass. And so I was ripping that off, and it worked. And everyone was like, "Oh my God, this is working so well!" And it occurred to me that they may not fire me today. They may actually pay me the amount that they said they were going to pay me, which at the time I was so poor. I was like, it was obscene. I mean, it actually was the lowest amount they could get away legally with paying me, but to me, it was a lot of money. And so it seemed like it was working, and that kind of played out for that whole first episode. The director, do you mind if I go on?
Okay, go ahead, bro.
The director, John Kay, came to me in the middle of the shoot, and he goes, "I am committing Buffy suicide here. I'm never going to be hired back here, because I am doubling my shot list, and I'm taking twice as much time as they tell me that they can afford. But I don't care. This episode is awesome, and I'm going to get so much work off it. I'll work everywhere else, but you'll never see me again if you can do it." And I forever, I hope I meet him someday again, because one of the reasons I think that episode popped so well is because he did that.
Indeed. And your character was originally meant to have a short run, but you became a breakout and popular with the fans, which caused an unexpected inclusion in the show for a lot longer than anyone expected, especially you, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's not surprising, because most of the other vampires on Buffy were not meant to be cool. Evil is not cool. And the show was not interested in portraying it as cool. It more often than not, it was silly. It was awkward. It was laughable, which I really respect. But with David and I, they made exceptions. They only made an exception for me because David was supposed to kill me once he and Buffy slept together, and he goes evil. And they just built me up to be cool so that David could slay me and be the cool guy. But it's not that surprising that there would be a big reaction to a character like that because it was so different than the other vampires.
Yeah, then there you have it. Amber, you got one?
Yeah, I think for me, it's not really one day. It's like a whole episode that went on and interminably. But it was the musical that wouldn't die. How many times were we doing pickups? I mean, this thing, every time, I always say this, but I would walk in the trailer. We'd be shooting a whole different episode. I walk in the trailer, and there'd be the dress hanging there. And I was like, oh, I guess we're doing pickups for the musical, back in the corset. I think probably the day that we did the "You Make Me Complete" moment where we rise up, and I think that was probably one of the most fun days that I had on Buffy. It was just making the musical was so much fun, getting to work with like, you know, James and Nick and Emma and everybody who loved singing. Like we were all having such a blast. I felt bad for the people in the group that weren't like super into singing, because I was just like, this is the best thing ever. Every episode should be a singing episode. And everyone's like, no. but doing that episode and getting to like play in that musical world for me was just, it was kind of an amazing experience. A thing that I will never probably do again in my life. And I'm just so grateful that I got to be a part of that. But that day in particular stands out because it was just so much fun and so bizarre. What a bizarre world we live in, you know, that we get to do stuff like that. We're very, very lucky as actors.
And again, we
broke union rules to make that episode. We were shooting all these splinter units way longer than was legally allowed.
Really?
Yeah, people were like, we're shooting it again, but don't tell anybody. Okay.
Yeah, I've had to do some under the table alternative theater. I'm like, don't tell Equity, you know. So, absolutely, Kristine. You got a memorable day, moment, week, episode on the set?
God. I knew you were going to get to
that. Well, that's why I wanted to give you a chance to think.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. You know, so many things just flashed through my mind when you said that. Just picking out these little moments, like when I first got to join the cast, because the first season it was just kind of me at home with Buffy, and that was the one with the masks, and you know, vampires were coming in, and I was like, this is so cool. And then the giant who came for the episode when, you know, Mothers Against Mad, whatever. But I think one of the funnest moments was when Xander had all the women going after him, because it was, oh my God, and of course Band Candy, but it was, and you know what, those are connected because the ability to bring out a different side in Joyce as a woman, because the cast was so young, they were, you know, teens, and I was like an old woman of 40. So it was really nice to just, you know, bring that part of Joyce to the table. So I would say that.
There you have it. Oh. Well, thank you for indulging my capricious curiosity. We're good to go to our audience questions. So let's go ahead and roll our first one. And this comes from Danny with 2 eyes. Is there anything that you really wanted for your character if you could have written something into their storyline? And let's assume the creative, let's assume that Joss would have been amenable to the idea. And I'll leave it at that.
Completely in the
This is a very hypothetical situation.
Yeah.
I would have liked Joyce's business in the art world to have been fleshed out more. And, you know, perhaps for Joss's purposes, he didn't do that. But, you know, sometimes I just was to remain in the box of a mother. And I think it would have been really nice to follow Joyce at work just a little bit, to have a sense of the person she was outside of the house. And, you know, a single mom with the stress of raising a daughter, but also existing in the work world. So
I would have liked to have seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being in the art world, you could have done some attachments to occults and stuff like that through it. You know, the curse painting. Yeah, it could have been plot equal.
Sucking artists. Yeah. Evil artists.
Whatever I paint horribly comes to life.
I know. I was always like, a woman who has an art gallery doesn't wear double pleated pants. Nobody would listen to me.
I remember when I got on as a regular on season 4, the question was how are they going to get Spike to stop trying to kill Buffy? Because of course you can get away with that for one season, but if as a regular you can't run with that too long. So I thought that the best thing to do would be to have Spike fall in love with Buffy. Of course Buffy doesn't fall in love with him. That's insane. But he can try to win her heart and fail, either to comedic effect or horrific effect. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of different permutations of that one you can kind of run with for a while. Mm-hmm. And when the script came down, when they put a chip in my head, I was like, oh, well, come on. That's kind of easy. Oh, we're just going to chip him so he doesn't try. I'm like, have another meeting, guys, you know? But, you know, in hindsight, it's kind of obvious to me that chip led the character in the ultimate direction better than my idea. So whenever, you know, because you would want Spike to be very frustrated that he couldn't kill people, and then the chip comes out and you wonder, is he going to kill people? And that kind of propels him to make the mistakes that he makes before he decides to try to get a soul, right? So asking me what I want for the character, it's kind of dicey, you know, because I'm looking at the minutia of my character. They're looking at the whole sweep of the story, and they're thinking way downfield where I'm not at all. And most of my ideas revolve around make me look cool, which is almost
well, yeah.
I guess it's me. Well, what? Guess it's all on me. Gotta bring it home.
That is what I usually say.
It's funny because you were talking, James, and I was like, I never thought of it like this, but in the beginning, kind of like the Roadrunner dynamic, just always trying to get Buffy and getting an animal on the head instead.
Yeah, exactly. It would be funny.
You know, I always wanted to participate more in the battles. I feel like if you look back on like Tara's place when there was a fight, invariably I was in a corner or behind a column or like in a doorway doing magic from afar. Like, oh, I don't want to get my hands dirty. And I always kind of wanted to be more involved in the fighting. I did get to kill one creature, which I guess isn't like, I shouldn't want that, right? We don't want to kill things, but in the context of the show where there was a lot of killing, I did want to participate in that more. So I got one at bat with an axe, but I really wanted to be more proactive with the fighting. I would have enjoyed doing more of that stuff. Although I'm pretty uncoordinated, so I probably would have hurt myself and possibly others. So maybe it was for the best that I wasn't allowed.
The axe is pretty cool, though.
The axe was awesome. That was very cool. I had a cool kill moment.
Yeah, an axe is not usually a protagonist's weapon.
No.
So, because it's so, yeah.
It's brutal. I only got one sword the whole time. I got no axes. I got one weapon, 6 years. And then the script comes down, it's like, oh, I don't need weapons. I've got mine right here. I'm like, oh, I'm never going to get another one. It's just going to be that one. Damn it. So I'm always just like.
You killed some stuff, Kristine, right?
I tried to kill Spike with an axe.
Ah!
Yeah, I don't remember killing anybody. All you fans out there, remind me if I did or if I did.
All right, let's get Kristine's kill count for our chat room.
I might have killed someone. I
don't know.
You don't know.
Pleading the fifth, Kristine said.
The favorite incredible moment was when I got the script and suddenly I had 2 daughters. So I was like, okay. It's all about living under imaginary circumstances. So today I have 2 daughters. People ask like, how did you make that leap? You know, you just, as an actor, you just take the circumstances that you're given. So I didn't think about it a lot,
Yeah, very true.
That is its own battle, raising 2 daughters. Probably harder
Yeah.
than killing a demon for sure.
That's
Really need the axe for that, you know, the raising of two daughters.
You could have used an axe.
You too.
Clean your room.
Danny, great question. Thank you for starting us off with that one. And what's next? From Sophie. I'm going to rephrase this. Have you found yourself in possession of anything from the sets?
We're not going to admit to it. No, of course not. That would be illegal.
took home the picture that was taken of Dawn and Buffy and I on the bed. I took
Aww.
Ah.
I have a Polaroid of me with a wound right here, and there's a cake that's in the shape of a tombstone that says "Rest in peace, Tara Maclay." And I have my wound, and I'm next to my dead cake, and we took that when they killed me. So I have that. That's pretty ridiculous. Very sad.
Yeah, we didn't really steal a lot, did we? We're good. We're good actors. There's a guy, Joe Pampliano. I think that's how you say his last name. He was like one of the bad guys on The Matrix. Really good actor. He takes everything and sells it on the internet, just unabashedly sells it on the internet. Like all his costumes, all his props, and he goes sells it on the internet. I'm like, well, that's genius, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. They wouldn't let me keep any clothes, which was unusual because, usually those are like, hey, do you want them for a good deal or whatever? But they were all like, no, they're rentals and they're going back.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Or if we need to reshoot.
I think Fox ended up selling a lot of the stuff. I think they had a bunch of auctions. I don't know if that went to them or to charity or how that worked, but I do remember.
But who'd want to buy double pleated pants?
That's what
but they're your pants. That makes them special.
Yeah,
they
whatever.
told me I could steal the coat. The costume people said, if you want to walk with that, we won't tell anybody. And I had my nose in the air because I used to have theater companies in Chicago and Seattle, and I hated actors who stole my stuff. I hated that. Like on your way out, you're going to steal from me. So I said, no, I'm not going to steal it. Don't do that. And because I also thought, like, what the hell am I going to do with the coat? Like, am I going to wear it out sometimes? In which case, everyone's going to be like, that guy is insane. Or like, no, I'll just wear it like at midnight in my house and look at myself in the mirror. Do I still got my mojo? Twirl around. No, put it on like a mannequin. Here, welcome to my home. Would you like to touch the coat? No, So I'm like the one person who doesn't need the coat. So I didn't take it. And then 3 days after we came down, I heard about that thing that Fox was selling stuff, and they sold the coat for $250,000. And I was like, good.
My God.
Idiot. Why didn't I think of that? I got 2 kids. I should have stolen the coat. Yeah, but I didn't.
Whenever a show the following, maybe goes before its time, there's always maybe there's a chance they'll bring it back. And I always tell everybody they had an auction, they're not bringing it back.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
If anyone wants to cheat on this, Buffy would be the perfect show to just get something and say that it was part of the show, because it was all just in the 90s. You could just get like a picture frame. This was from the show. How are people going to know?
Actor William Daniels, we've had him on here several times. He told when this question comes up often, he had the best thing at the end of every season of Boy Meets World, the final episode, his final day of taping. He would bring in all of his old clothes and switch them out in the wardrobe for all the new stuff they had for him, and walk out with all of it.
That's awesome. So smart. It's not stealing; it's trading.
That's brilliant. And Sophie, that was a great question. Thank you for that. What do we have next? From Andre, if you were a vampire or another supernatural creature, would you fight evil or take over the world?
I would totally fight evil because, well, this is the thing. I don't want to take over the world. Can you imagine how many phone calls you would have and how many people want you to make decisions about stuff and fix problems and everything if you were actually took over the world.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I don't want the world. I have enough problem just dealing with all the stuff that I do have.
Superman 2, General Zod's taking over the world and he's bored senseless.
Yeah, you'd just be henpecked by everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, we need you to solve the crisis and la la la. Forget it.
Yeah.
Fight
And you make
evil.
one mistake and everybody turns against you. You know?
Exactly. They blame you for anything anyway. No way in hell. No, I would fight evil. It's easier.
It's clean.
No one blame me on that.
I guess my overdeveloped sense of right and wrong would probably make me fight evil. I don't think I would be comfortable ruling the world. I agree with James. It's too much responsibility. I'll stick with doing the base amount of helping to fight evil,
Like,
and then hanging out.
I can't even fight evil in a video game. I feel guilty. My friends think I'm the biggest idiot. They're like, that's the one place you could just let go, James. I'm like, it doesn't feel good. I want to help people. That's my fantasy. So, yeah.
Very true. Very true. Kristine. Fight evil or take over the world?
I'd have to join in fighting evil.
Yes.
Yes. I'd like to be the Hulk. I'd like to be just totally badass and be able to beat people up who are bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you have it.
Just rip them in half.
It's like, and there they go.
There you have it, Andre. Great question. And I would fight evil by taking over the world. Oh, what do we have next? Here's one from Samantha. Does everybody have a favorite blooper moment that they would be willing to share?
Mine's pretty well known. It's in the musical episode. Because it's well known because I've talked about it before, but I'm sure people have noticed it and have looked for it after I've talked about it. In the like backing up Buffy dance scene with Emma, where we're sort of like doing our little dance behind Buffy while she sings. I turn around and I walk off like in my dancing mode, and I walked into a pole in the bronze, and and I hit the pole, and I had that like Pee Wee Herman moment of like I meant to do that, and I looked around and nobody said anything or seemed to notice, so I was like, oh, I got away with it. I walked into a pole and nobody saw. Yay me. And then I watched the episode, and there it is, me walking right into the pole, and then having that like moment, walking off. Yeah, it's very embarrassing.
I did the same thing, Amber. I backed up into a column, and Josh loved it so much, he did a close-up on me. He goes, do it again. And he put a close-up on me for it.
See, that's not fair. That's not fair of them to use our bloopers against us.
Oh my God, that one worked.
Oh my goodness. Kristine, you got one? Oh, James, go ahead.
Well, I remember one time I was doing off-camera work for Allison and Nicholas. We were in a cave. I was fighting a demon, and I was all into it. I was the hyper caffeinated guy that was always like, "Let's go, guys!" every freaking day. So annoying. So I'm doing off-camera fighting. The demon isn't there anymore, and I'm standing beside all the lights and the cameras and the cables and all that stuff. But I'd want to give my cast members something real to react to, so they have a good shot. So I'm doing full-out fighting, like crazy. And of course, I trip over a cable, and I go right through the fake cave wall, smack, and put a hole in it, and then immediately jump back through the hole and continue my off-camera fighting. At which point, Nick just lost it. He's like, I can't even stop it. I can't. What are you doing? Maniac. Yeah. Red Bull should be only drunken in one can a day, maybe.
It's amazing. I totally see you doing it too.
Oh my God, right? I'm that guy.
So
Commitment.
So committed.
Yeah.
God.
Very true. Kristine, you got a blooper moment you can recall?
I don't. And when I saw the blooper reel, I thought, I shouldn't have been such
Yeah.
a
Should've been so
hard worker.
professional.
I should have loosened up and had a little more fun. You know, you're always like thinking, oh, it costs so much money, and you know, they don't want mistakes, and you know, do it in as few takes as you can. And you know, if I could go back, I'd have not been so you know, uptight about making a mistake, because mistakes are great.
You know what though? I'm similar to you, Kristine. I remember after like 3 of these reels came out and I was not in them. I went to Josh. I was like, "What? You know, I'm never in the reel. What's going on?" He's like, "James, you want the truth? You don't want to hear it." I'm like, "Yeah, I want the truth." It's like, "Because you're boring."
That's
He
not.
said, no. He said, every time cut is called cut, you do exactly the same thing. You glance down to make sure that you're on your mark, and then you walk over to your chair, you pick up your script, and you study your lines. That's all you ever do. But when we call action, it's like someone released a wild animal onto the set, so don't change what you're doing. And I came to realize, like, my fun was between the words action and cut, because that was when everybody had to shut the hell up, and I got to just kind of commune with the script and just be with the fantasy in the script. And that was my payoff. It wasn't so much goofing around in between. You know, I was having so much fun doing the thing that I just couldn't wait to get back to it.
It was like the best make-believe ever.
Right?
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, God.
And again, to your edification, as we all know, the scripts were pretty locked in stone, and we'll leave it at that.
Well, the best scripts are.
Yep.
You know, I have a feeling like what are some of our favorite movies? Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou? Right? One of my favorite films. I don't think there was probably a lot of improvisation, like, oh, George, make up your own words for this. No, I think that Ethan said, no, you got the comma wrong, George. Go back for it. I spent a long time writing that.
Yeah.
You know? Well, you're a writer, Amber. Would you say to actors like, oh, I spent 3 months writing this, but whatever you want to do?
You know, I think it's when you have stuff like Buffy or Gilmore Girls or like old school like Preston Sturges, you have or even the Coen brothers, you have very specific lines of dialogue that only work if you say them the right way for effect or for humor. I think you have to be kind of rigid about it. But I think a lot of the stuff I've done as an actor, you read the script and you're like, well, I mean, the dialogue's not amazing. I guess I'll try and say it how they want it, but sometimes somebody will say something that's sort of the same and it works fine. Or you're on a comedy where people are actually improvising, and that's the whole conceit of that film. I don't know. I think it depends on the script and who is in charge and what the sort of end game is. But as an actor, I always try and be respectful of the dialogue. Just that's me personally, unless they're like improv, have fun, do your thing. But when I make stuff, I try not to be so rigid, because I find when I'm like behind the scenes and I'm, directing or it's something I've written, a lot of times actors, and I see this with you guys, like, because you guys are both very professional, very good at what you do. You always bring something that I didn't intend into the scene and make it better. So being less rigid and allowing for that sort of finding of things sometimes within reason, invariably I find makes the project better and makes it feel like it's our project instead of somebody like dictating what I need to do. And I feel like the more inclusive you are, where everyone is a part of it and we all have skin in the game, invariably makes a better project for me when I'm working. So I get it though. I think like with Buffy, like if you didn't say it the right way, it sounded funny, you had to do it that way. So I 100% am behind that. But I think it's, for me, it's kind of open-ended.
There are projects, like really great projects, where like the dialogue is not the star. It's not kind of supposed to sparkle. It's not supposed to dance and sparkle. Yeah. It's not the point. And in those cases, the immediacy of improvisation, the reality of it, the dirtiness of it kind of actually heightens the experience. Yeah.
I always think of like Maclay, who directs, these very improv heavy, and not improv in the moment. They actually, like Secrets and they rehearse and they find the characters together. And then what ends up becoming the script is what they've done together. And I always thought that was such an interesting way to work with your performers and find the sort of world together. What the conceit of it is, but like working. Have either of you ever done that where you worked from like with the creative team building a character like that?
No.
I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah, I've done that at Disney. I've done that with Disney projects at Disney characters.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, where we're given a show and we've workshopped it out and play tested it. And this character, Buddy Boyle at the Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor show started like this, but he ended up being the final form of this.
Wow.
That we contributed to. So yeah,
There's
like Waiting for Guffman, one of my other favorite films. Most of that was improv.
Yeah.
Of course, when you have those actors, you probably want to let them go.
Well, Christopher Guest always says, all right, this is where the scene, this is what happened up to now in this scene. And you've got this a 2-minute scene. And by the end of this and this has to happen and go.
Well, it's kind of like a documentary, right? In the end, where you just have all this footage and then you kind of have to put it all together.
Yep.
Yeah, they do about, he does about 15 to 20 versions of the scenes and then he pieces them together. So
I love improv. It's so fabulous, and I've never gotten to do it in front of a camera.
There you have it.
Because I always assume that it's in the words, and that by saying the words and paying attention, I discover different variations of what it's about. I suppose that's my theater training, but I remember the days before the good writers came to television, and you really had to improv because the dialogue was horrendous. It's like no one would ever talk that way. So you constantly, had to find a better way to say it. And, now there's really good writers in television. So, I remembered that turn. And I was so happy when they said, you have to memorize your lines just as they are. Like, oh, that's so much easier than having to how do I make this dialogue sound like a real person said it? So,
yeah.
We have to go. All right, then, let's go.
Well, theater is the writer's medium, right? Like that is truly, the words are everything. You're not relying on fancy camera angles or hot actors and actresses and
no one knows if we're only this big.
Yeah.
No, but I think it's a real it's the writing and it's the actors.
Yeah, I agreed 100%.
Because you really tell the story in film. Somebody else puts it all together and it never actually exists in real time.
Yeah.
The way that it does in the theater.
Yeah.
Shakespeare never won a Golden Globe, so
I
disagree.
But television is really a writer's medium too, because most of the time the writers are the producers, because you have to keep writing more scripts. It's never done. Mm-hmm. And so they just put the writers in charge. Because you're the showrunner, you're the head writer, it's the same thing. Whereas in feature film, the writer, sorry to say, could be dead as long as the script is finished. And so oftentimes they lose all power once they.
And I think that a lot of that goes back to actually what Buffy did. Buffy was the show that
bringing it back. But
Buffy was the show that made people aware of. Nobody knew what a showrunner was. That was an industry term, and then Buffy made people aware of it and began the idea of. Okay, there's a central node to the creativity of this series, and they're allowed to explore. And I think that led to the early 2000s when we saw the big explosion and experimental thing with the HBO shows and that really started breaking barriers. And you're right, the strong writing, and it's no longer the 80s stilted. Okay, here's a crime show, it's a procedure. Let's go Knight Rider. Now we're seeing this wonderful thing we're in now, and so many concepts, so many things going on. So there's a lot of great television.
Yeah,
and
there is
not enough time to see it.
Yep.
So, but Samantha, great question. And I think we have time for one or two more. So let's see. What do we got? Here's one from Chance. What has been your most memorable fan interaction and or the weirdest that you are willing to share with us?
I find that most of my interactions are really, really pleasant. I find with the Buffy fandom, I consider myself one of the leading experts on Buffy fans because I don't know if anyone's met more than me. And I'm here to say we are smart, we're funny, we don't take ourselves too seriously, and we're kind. And I found that to be true all over the world. And so, like, I've met really interesting people. Like, invariably, there's someone with a really cool job. Like, I met someone who worked on the Large Hadron particle accelerator that straddles Switzerland and France and Europe. I met someone who worked on one of the Mars rovers. I'm a science fan guy, so I'm just like, oh, let's talk forever. But like, the weirdest like, not a lot, you know. There was one time though, I was in England and I was at a cocktail party, and the fans are getting, you know, inebriated, and this is early on in the whole thing. I still have white hair. I don't really know about boundaries yet, you know. And these two older ladies came up, one in a wheelchair. They had to be above 80 years old, both of them. And one of them goes, "My friend would like to ask you a question." And I'm like, "Sure, what's up?" And she's like, "Could you turn round?" And I'm like, "Sure." And I turned around, and then she said, "Now bend over." And that right there, that's where the boundary should come in. But I didn't know that. I was an idiot. And so I bent over, and she just grabbed like right up in there, just full up all the way in there, and like a vice grip. And I heard this little voice, "Now clench." Right? And I took off like a shot back to my hotel room. I was like, party's over, party's over. God. But that's it. And I've learned to put the word in that I don't like my ass to be grabbed. I say that.
Well, no one should do that to anybody.
Yeah.
No, they shouldn't.
It's inappropriate.
No, exactly. And I don't like it. And if it happens, I call attention to it for damn sure. People know that now.
But who expects that from little old British ladies?
One should be careful. But that's like I have met tens of thousands of fans, and that's seriously the only weird thing that's happened.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Right on. Amber, any really memorable fan encounters?
Well, I was proposed to once by a very lovely woman who brought a ring. And it's the only time I've ever been proposed to. So I really should have just said yes. I hadn't learned that lesson yet. You just, when it shows up, you just take it. But it was this gorgeous ring. I'm not kidding you. This thing was beautiful. And she was lovely and so sweet. And I felt bad turning her down, but I did because I didn't know her. Probably wouldn't have been a great start to a marriage, to not really know the person that you're getting engaged to. But it was very memorable. She got down on one knee. It was pretty wonderful. She was very impressive and very chivalrous and charming.
Well, sounds like you were kind to her in declining the offer.
I would, like I said, I was dumb. I should have just like taken the ring and run. It was pretty gorgeous.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's people have gotten people used to, in the mail, people used to get wedding proposals and stuff all the time. I think that's the first one I've ever heard of an in-person at an event, that full thing.
It was kind of amazing. She was so lovely.
So. Well, Kristine, I'm not asking you to top that, but if you got a story.
No, I don't have any, stories in that sense, but I totally agree with James. You summed it up perfectly. And not only in meeting fans, but before I really met any fans, my husband was on a television series at the same time that I was on Buffy. And the fans of his show, they broke boundaries so many times. You know, they would come up in an airport and really call attention, which is the last thing you want to do in an airport. And I would just like kind of even drift off because I don't want to be in this. And people, on the street, they'd yell across the street, "Yo, bro, and they would say his character name. And it's at that time I would be on the subway and somebody would just very quietly lean in and say, I don't want to bother you, but I just love your work. And that, you know, they were so respectful of boundaries. So, you know, but I haven't had that, but then, you know, I'm not a hot guy like James, so you know, everybody treats their mother well.
No, it's not me. It's the fans. I find that Buffy fans kind of get it. You know,
We have the best fans.
They kind of really do. Like Norman Reedus, like his fans actually bite him. They chase him and sink their teeth into him.
No,
Like it's a different crowd.
yeah, no, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And Chance, there you have it. Great question. Panelists, it's been an absolute delight. Any final words before we take our leave?
Aw. Thank
I
you
don't
so
wanna
much
go.
for hosting.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah, favorite
Any-
people. It's so great to see you guys.
Yeah, any excuse to hang out with Kristine and Amber, I'll take
Aw,
jump on that. Yeah,
ditto.
so
I feel the
glad.
same way. Yeah.
Oh, it's always been my absolute pleasure to serve you all. Once again, thank you for joining us here on the GalaxyCon virtual stage. Thank you to our audience for joining us, and thank you for those great questions. Hope to see everybody
Really good.
again soon. Until then, bye-bye, take care, and remember, smiles are free. Spend them often.